Hello and welcome, I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching The World Report. Let's first take a look at our top stories. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has cast doubts over a potential peace plan with Russia, warning of a Russian war with NATO. This comes after US President Donald Trump announced that US, Russian and Ukrainian officials will meet at the Munich Security Conference, something Zelensky denies knowing about. Meanwhile, President Trump is also eyeing a three-way summit with China's Xi and Russia's Putin in what could shake up the world order. The president also signed a memorandum to start calculating reciprocal tariffs on foreign countries. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has hailed a mega partnership with the US after meeting with President Trump. Trade and tariffs were discussed between the two leaders, with American oil exports and Indian fighter jet purchases also key topics. Police in Munich have named 24-year-old Farhad N as the suspect in an apparent car ramming attack. Officials say the Afghan asylum seeker who they believe was driving the vehicle had an extremist background. Germany's interior minister has vowed to carry out more deportation flights of Afghans after the incident, which injured at least 30 people. In a surprising turn of events, Ukrainian President Zelensky has stated that Russia might be preparing to wage a war on NATO. On the other hand, he also reported a Russian drone attack on Chernobyl's protective shield, causing a fire but no radiation change. Here's the full update.
In a surprising turn of events, Ukrainian president casts doubt on the US peace plan with Russia. He further doubled down on his statement, saying he has no meetings arranged with the Russians that he knows of. Zelensky further claimed that Russia is planning to launch an offensive against NATO members.
I think, Tuama, that he's preparing the war against NATO countries next year. And I think so. But I don't know, I don't have 100. God bless, we will stop this crazy guy. And we will not have any war in the world.
On the other hand, Ukrainian President Zelensky reported that a Russian drone attack hit the already damaged protective shield at the Chernobyl reactor, causing a fire but with radiation levels remaining stable. US Vice President JD Vance, who was expected to meet Zelensky, reiterated the need for a negotiated settlement and a future-proof NATO. This is what President Trump said regarding the talks.
Will Ukraine have a seat at that table for those negotiations?
Of course they would. I mean, they're part of it. We would have Ukraine, we'd have Russia, and we'll have other people involved too. A lot of people, a lot of forks in this game. I'll tell you what, this is a very interesting situation, but the Ukraine war has to end.
But Ukraine said there were no plans to hold talks with Russian representatives at the Munich Security Conference. Former US President Trump stirred debate by suggesting Russia's expulsion from the G8 in 2014 played a role in the invasion, calling for Russia's return to the G7. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Let's now take a look at some stories from across North America. The Republican-led US Senate has approved Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Health Secretary despite concerns from the medical community over his history of spreading vaccine misinformation. He secured the nomination with a 52-48 vote, becoming the latest controversial member of President Trump's cabinet. As Health Secretary, Kennedy will oversee $1.7 trillion in federal spending, vaccine policies, food safety and health insurance programs covering nearly half the country. US President Donald Trump said that he wants Russia back in the group of 7, calling its removal a mistake. Russia was part of the G7, then the G8 until 2014, when it was expelled for annexing Crimea from Ukraine. Trump blamed former President Barack Obama for the decision, saying the world's top economy should not have excluded Moscow. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum urged Google to change its decision to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America for US users. Google made the change after a decision by US President Trump's government. Sheinbaum criticized the move, saying the Gulf of Mexico is the internationally accepted name. Sheinbaum stated that if Google does not reverse the change, Mexico may go to court. The US military is increasing airborne surveillance of Mexican drug cartels to gather intelligence and plan a response, a top US general said. President Donald Trump has sent thousands of extra troops to the border and threatened to label cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said Mexico is in close contact with the US and does not believe Trump will take military action, as many in Mexico would see it as a violation of sovereignty. Manhattan's top federal prosecutor has resigned, along with 5 other high-ranking US DOJ officials, after she refused an order to drop a corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. The prosecutor argued that dismissing the case would set a dangerous precedent. Adams is accused of accepting bribes from Turkish citizens in a case of quid pro quo. A high-stakes US-India summit sees Modi and Trump pushing for a mega partnership. But what does it mean for trade, defence and security, plus a major extradition move and a $1 billion target? Stay with us for the full story.
US President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met at the White House, reaffirming their close ties and announcing major deals on defence and trade. Trump confirmed plans to sell advanced fighter jets to India, further deepening military cooperation.
We're also paving the way to ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighters.
Modi, in turn, announced a push to double bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030, calling for a new trade agreement. Trump also announced plans to start negotiations on trade disparities between the two nations.
Prime Minister Modi and I have agreed that we'll begin negotiations to address the long-running disparities that should have been taken care of over the last 4 years, but they didn't do that, in the US-India trading relationship, with the goal of signing an agreement.
Despite long-standing US concerns over India's human rights record, the issue was notably absent from public remarks. The focus remained on trade and economic cooperation. Trump and Modi also discussed security, with Trump approving the extradition of Tahol Rana, an accused conspirator in the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Modi praised the move, calling the Mumbai attacks an act of genocide and promised legal action in India. Modi also emphasized the deepening US-India partnership with a wordplay on Trump's campaign slogan, a meeting high on optics and agreements, but low on difficult conversations. With a stronger economic and military partnership, India and the US continue to reinforce their strategic ties. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We'll now take a look at some stories from across the continent of Europe. Moldova and Romania have summoned Russia's ambassadors after drones from the war in Ukraine struck their territory. No casualties were reported. Aerospace violations have become frequent as Russia targets Ukrainian ports near their borders. Moldova's president condemned the attack, saying drones exploded on Moldovan soil, putting lives at risk. Authorities confirmed drone fragments were found in multiple locations. The number of foreign workers reporting exploitation on UK farms has risen sharply. Nearly 700 seasonal labourers sought help last year over claims of bullying, underpayment and poor conditions. That's up just over from just over 400 in 2023. The UK government says it takes decisive action against abuse. Still, the Workers' Support Centre of the UK has reportedly received little to no help. Russian national Alexander Vinnik has arrived in Moscow after being released in a US prisoner swap. Convicted of cybercrime, he pleaded guilty to money laundering charges last year. Speaking to Russian media, Vinnik thanked President Vladimir Putin and others for securing his release. He also acknowledged former US President Donald Trump, saying the exchange might not have happened without him. Ukraine has acknowledged losing ground in Russia's Kursk region. The nation now holds only a third of the land it initially seized. Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky said Ukrainian forces now control around 500 square kilometres, down from nearly 1,400. The territory was taken during a surprise offensive last year. Kyiv hopes to use the remaining land as leverage in future negotiations with Moscow. Austria's far-right Freedom Party is demanding a new general election after coalition talks collapsed. The FPO, which narrowly won the September election, failed to form a government with the People's Party, Social Democrats and Liberal Neos. Leader Herbert Kickle says there is no choice but to hold another vote. He hopes to secure a clear majority to govern without coalition partners. French Prime Minister François Bayrou is under pressure over claims of abuse at a Catholic school. Lawmakers are demanding he clarify whether he knew about allegations of violence and rape of minors between the years 1970s and 1990s. The Socialists want answers since he was the education minister in the 1990s. Bayrou, appointed in December, faces a divided parliament and relies on Socialist support to govern. A bold new trade strategy and a dramatic call for global disarmament. President Donald Trump takes aim at tariffs and nuclear stockpiles. Is the world ready for his next move? Let's find out.
And on trade, I have decided, for purposes of fairness, that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less. In other words,
US President Donald Trump has tasked his economic team with formulating plans for reciprocal tariffs on countries that impose duties on American imports. The move heightens global trade war fears as the US targets China, Japan, South Korea, and the European Union. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump has declared that the US will charge the same tariffs that other nations impose. He has also ordered calculations on non-tariff barriers, including regulations restricting US exports. French Economy Minister Eric Lombard said the EU will respond with utmost force if Trump imposes new tariffs.
Pour répondre à des hausses de tarifs par des hausses de tarifs, soit en négociant ensuite pour revenir à quelque chose de plus normal, soit en maintenant les barrières s'il le faut, mais nous jouerons à armes égales avec les États-Unis.
Markets have also reacted with caution, though US stocks have gained as immediate tariffs remain off the table. Meanwhile, Trump has also proposed talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin to reduce all three nations' nuclear stockpiles and cut military budgets in half. He has argued there is no reason to build new nuclear weapons when existing arsenals can already destroy the world. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Let's now head to South America for more of the latest news updates. Lawmakers in El Salvador want to eliminate public financing of political campaigns. Some experts say politicians are taking advantage of the newly streamlined constitutional reform process. The reform passed with 58 out of 60 lawmakers voting in favour. The legislation will now go to the President Nayib Bukele for his signature. He also tweeted saying political parties can finance themselves just as they did in 2019. USAID's funding worth $70 million for environmental and conservation projects has been frozen in Colombia. The South American country's Environment Minister, Susana Mohammed, thinks the main impact will be in the Amazon. The Environment Ministry says a little under half of the funding was for USAID's Amazonia MIA program. Trump's administration has frozen most foreign aid payments, while USAID is being closed down. Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa has named Luis Alberto Jaramillo as the country's new finance minister. He has also confirmed interim energy and oil minister Inés Manzano in her post. Outgoing finance minister Juan Carlos Vega, who served since November 2023, has announced his departure in a letter posted on social media. He says that the government income had been strengthened and debts paid during his tenure. Brazil's President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva is set to start exploratory digging near the mouth of the Amazon River. He has been pressing the country's environmental regulator to approve the action. He is defending the push by saying new oil revenues could finance a transition to green energies. Speaking with media in Brazil, President Lula said, "Before exploring, we need to research and see if there is oil." And a humpback whale briefly swallowed a 24-year-old kayaker, Adrian Simancas, in Chile. The terrifying moment was captured on camera by the kayaker's father. In the video, the whale was surfacing in the Strait of Magellan and gulping Adrian for a few moments before releasing him. Adrian's father is heard yelling to his son, "Grab the boat," after Adrian swam to safety. He told his father that he thought it had swallowed him. An Afghan asylum seeker has been arrested in relation to the Munich car ramming attack that wounded around 30 people. Munich Mayor Dieter Reiter said a number of people were being treated for severe injuries and were in a life-threatening condition. Here is the latest.
A car ramming attack in the southern city of Munich has wounded 30 people, injuring some individuals severely. The police has arrested an Afghan asylum seeker in relation to the attack so far. The attack came on the eve of an international security conference in the Bavarian city and amid a heated debate in Germany on immigration ahead of February 23rd elections following similar attacks. The Mini Cooper car barreled into a trade union demonstration, leaving victims and their belongings scattered. Shoes, glasses, infant stroller were seen lying on the street following the attack. The mayor of Munich, Dieter Reiter, said that a number of people were being treated for severe injuries and were in a life-threatening condition. The police fired a shot at the battered car and detained the driver, who is identified as Farhad, a 24-year-old young man. The latest attack comes after the deadly German market attack that claimed 6 lives. While the investigation has been handed over to the regional prosecutor's office, the authorities have indicated an extremist motive behind the attack.
Ein Pkw-Fahrer in eine Menschenmenge fährt, eine Situation ist, die im Prinzip millionenfach jeden Tag, zu jeder Stunde, an jedem Ort unseres Landes im Prinzip so stattfinden kann. Insofern kann ich eine solche Situation nicht von vornherein verhindern. Wir müssen sehen, wo sind Personen, die gefährlich sind. Aber auch hier gilt, soweit wir im Moment wissen, ist der Täter bislang durch Ladendiebstähle aufgefallen, aber nicht durch Gewalttaten. Das muss aber noch näher ermittelt werden.
Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now for the latest updates from across the Indo-Pacific region. A resort construction site in the South Korean city of Busan eloped in a fire, killing 6 workers. The fire covered the building as 100 workers evacuated and 14 were rescued by helicopter. The cause of the fire is yet to be discovered and the incident is under investigation. A bomb targeting a vehicle carrying coal miners in southwestern Pakistan has killed at least 11 people and wounded 6 others. A paramilitary official said an improved explosive device was planted at the roadside, which exploded, causing the incident. The official added that it may have been a remote-operated explosion. No organisation has yet claimed responsibility, while the incident is still under investigation. A man has been found guilty of raping, then killing an Irish woman backpacker in India. The 28-year-old Irish woman named Danielle McLaughlin was found dead in West Goa in March of 2017. The cause of death was confirmed as strangulation and brain damage by post-mortem examination. Vikat Bhagat was found guilty at the District and Sessions Court in South Goa, India. Vikat is facing life imprisonment, but prosecutors have urged the court for a death penalty. The final verdict of the case is still awaited. A court in Tajikistan jails over 30 people for an attempted mass poisoning. All convicted individuals are said to be tied to the Islamic State Khorasan, the Afghan offshoot of ISIS. The convicts attempted to poison food served to attendees over a New Year festival last March in Vadat, Tajikistan. The sentences vary between 8 and 20 years. Mongolia and China have agreed to construct a new cross-border railway link. Once operational, the railway link will increase coal transport capacity by 30 million tonnes. The project is expected to start in April this year and is estimated to be completed in 2027. The new strategic partnership agreement was announced by Mongolian Prime Minister Oyen Erden on his visit to China. The Hong Kong government has cracked down on substandard homes, leaving low-income citizens wondering where to go. The government has established a minimum size and other baseline standards for homes. This leaves low-income citizens living in substandard homes that don't meet the requirements in a state of limbo to figure out what to do next. In one of the most expensive housing locations, such a decision puts a question on its citizens' very living. The Gaza truce is under threat, as Israel said. If Hamas does not release hostages by Saturday, the ceasefire will end. This happened after an Israeli drone took down a rocket launcher in the Gaza Strip. Here's the latest.
In official statements, IDF officials commented that they detected a failed rocket launch from Gaza that did not reach Israeli territory. After detecting the failed rocket launch, an Israeli drone struck down the rocket launcher in Gaza. The IDF stated the army is committed to the complete implementation of the terms of the agreement for the release of the hostages.
אנחנו לא נקבל את הפרת ההסכם. במהלך שחרור חטופינו היום, כולנו ראינו מראות מזעזעים. הבהרנו למתווכות שאנחנו לא מוכנים לקבל שום סיכון לחטופינו. ואני מוסיף על כך, מי שיעז לפגוע בחטופינו, דמו בראשו.
Hamas assured that, no matter what, they wish to honor the ceasefire agreement and continue releasing the hostages.
الفرحة الكاملة لو انه خسرت كل ربعي واهلي لكن فرحان ومبسوط انه جاي على بلدي وعلى منطقة السجاعية. كل الفرحة بإرادة رب العالمين انه روحنا على غزة على السجاعية.
An Israeli spokesperson reaffirmed Prime Minister Netanyahu's set deadline of Saturday and commented that failing to meet the deadline could end the ceasefire. According to reports, at least 48,239 people have been killed, and more than 111,000 have been injured so far by Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 2023. Who's to say what will happen if the ceasefire fails? Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's grab the latest from the world of business. TikTok has returned to US app stores of Apple and Google. This follows President Donald Trump's delay of a ban on the Chinese-owned social media app. He has assured the tech giants they will no longer face fines for disrupting or maintaining the app. Two US lawmakers have strongly condemned the UK's request for encrypted data held by Apple. The UK describe it as dangerous and short-sighted. The request is for access to encrypted data stored by Apple users worldwide in its cloud service. Senator Ron Wyden and Congressman Andy Biggs have written to National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard. They stated that the demand threatens the privacy and security of the US. Ukraine has completed work on a draft minerals agreement and handed it back to the United States. Sources say that the US side has requested until 5 p.m. GMT to review the agreement. This deal is central to Kyiv's efforts to gain the support of President Trump as he works to bring about a rapid end to the war with Russia. Flags Unlimited, a Canadian flag maker, has seen its sales double compared to a year ago. The surge in sales comes as tensions with the United States have sparked a wave of patriotism. The increase in sales also coincides with Canada's National Flag Day on February the 15th. This day marks the 60th anniversary of the red and white maple leaf flag's debut in Ottawa. New bank loans in China surged to a record high in January, exceeding expectations. This increase came as the central bank took steps to support a patchy economic recovery. This move has reinforced expectations of more stimulus in the coming months, particularly as US tariffs threaten to add more pressure to the economy. That is all we have time for, but we'll be back soon with more of your latest news.